So one thing about YouTube, as we all know, is they like to make recommendations either by full-length videos or shorts. And a couple of the shorts that led to full-length videos on those channels are by the YouTube channels Mawatzi, that's Mawatzi, Mawatzi. Kind of link them here in the description, and Anabox Facts and many others. And one of the things that Mawatzi, brought up in some of their videos, is, basically Frozen 3 and 4. Now, there was a video I saw about a month ago or so when pretty much it was announced we were getting not just a third Frozen, but a fourth Frozen. And, I looked at, I watched that video, I heard what they had to say, and then I did my own video, as you all saw here on my channel, where I kind of gave my thoughts as to why we're getting back-to-back sequels. And to me, it only makes sense that the only reason they'd be doing it is so that we would get a two-part story. And I brought up the fact that the two-part story could lead not only to the spirit, the lightning spirit, I can't think of her name right now, aligning herself with Anna and Elsa, but maybe it could lead to the idea that maybe, because some people have even theorized this, and even speculated about it based on what they've seen in the movies, it could lead to the idea that maybe Elsa and Anna's parents are still alive. And that could be true. I even said basically that, you could end Frozen 3 with this revelation by this lightning spirit, with her telling them, yeah, your parents are still alive. And then maybe, we go to the credits after that, and then midway through, we see the parents. We see, the father. We see the mother. But what we see with the mom is she's, using, some kind of magic, very similar to Elsa, but it's done in a way that kind of would give you the hint of, oh crap, the mom's a spirit too now. So it would really invest your interest to want to go see the fourth and final film to see how they would wrap this up. And now, emphasis, an asterisk, if you will, on the word final, because, hey, this is Disney, and if something works and something is successful, financially, they might want to milk it for a lot more than what it is, or what it's worth. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to go maybe a Frozen 5 after this, but, after the fourth one, but I think 4 is going to be the limit. But, hey, then again, we thought that way with Toy Story, and look what's going on there. But point is, everybody is pretty much assuming this is going to be it because of the announcement of back-to-back films. Without even having any idea if the third one's going to be a hit or not, which more than likely it will be. But again, getting back on topic, to me, that would be something that would really, get people invested to where not only do you close out the initial film, the third film, with the revelation that the parents are alive, much to Anna and Elsa's shock, but then during the mid or post-credit scene, we see the parents, and like I said, you see the mother while the father's busy doing something else, maybe behind his back without him knowing, weaving some kind of magic very similar to Elsa, that's giving off the vibes like, oh crap, she's a spirit too, or she's becoming a spirit herself, just like her daughter. So, so that would really get people, like I said, to come back in and watch the film, or come back in to watch, the fourth and final film, if it is the final film. But why are people looking at it, from this perspective? Why are they, feeling and believing that, Frozen 4 and Frozen 3 are going to be two-parters, or are going to be a two-parter, I should say? Well, again, like I mentioned, and everybody else has kind of theorized this, it's kind of weird that they're announcing two back-to-back Frozen films without even knowing if the third one is going to be a success. But that one of the CEOs of the Disney Animation came out, I think, recently, and basically indicated that this next Frozen was going to be an epic film. That is, basically, it was going to be so big, it might need to, you might need a more time basically to tell the whole story. So if that's the case, it would make sense that if she's coming out and saying, "Hey, the third film is going to maybe need a lot more time to tell its whole story," if you have the one of the people in charge of Disney Animation saying that, then that does give off the vibes that, yeah, we are going to get a fourth film, and that would mean that the fourth film is more than likely going to be part two of a two-parter, which begins in part three. Now, for anybody that wonders, well, why don't they just call it Frozen 3 Part 2? And Frozen 3 Part 1. And those are good questions to ask. Don't get me wrong. Those are good questions, to ask and everything. But it's very similar to Sony Animation's, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse. And Into the Spider-Verse, if you will. Basically, you could have, with the first one, you could have said Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. You could have said Part 1, right? You could have said, Part 1, right? And then Into the Spider-Verse Part 2 could have been this year's, and the one upcoming in a year or so, you could have said Part 3. But instead, they said, no, we're going to name it differently. Like, we're going to give off the vibes that, yes, it is a 2 to 3 parter, but we're not going to just say Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. We're just going to go with different titles, but give off the vibes or the notion that, yes, these are going to be, multiple, these are going to be the same story, one huge story, just separated because it's too big to contain. And that's what they're doing. I mean, that's why they marketed at first Across the Spider-Verse as a two-parter. And instead of just going with the initial Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and 2, they said, you know what, let's just rename Part 2 as Beyond the Spider-Verse. And that's what they're doing. It's kind of like with Avengers Infinity War. They originally were going to go with Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and 2, right? But then they decided, nah, that's not going to be good, because if we go with that, people might suspect or wonder and theorize, could there be a Part 3? No, instead they said, they decided instead that since this was going to be the end of the Thanos era of the MCU, basically the end of the first three phases, they decided that instead they would just redub it Endgame. Like, give off the vibes of, yes, it is, like, yes, Infinity War is Part 1, but Endgame is the second and final part and the conclusion overall of the first three phases of the MCU. That's what they did, and it worked. People went in there knowing what they were going to get. Knowing what they were going to get. Now, you might say, well, what about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning? Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, it all depends on what the people behind the film, feel title-wise is going to be more attractive. And for something like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, you kind of want to stay in tune with that and say, oh, well, it's Mission Impossible, and, it's going to be, and it's going to be this, we're going to give it this title. They could say, they could decide between now and then, okay, instead of Dead Reckoning Part 2, we could say The Reckoning and be done with it. They could do that, or they could just say Mission Impossible 9. They could do that, but they won't. They won't, because they feel the best solution is to say, look, in our opinion, everybody else can do their thing, but instead we're just going to go with parts. That way people can come back and be like, okay, now here we go with Part 2, see what happens. People just do it that way. I mean, like with Star Wars. Star Wars went the whole episode route, right? Basically parts, if you will. But the thing is, they did that because, if they would have said, okay, check out Star Wars Part 2, Star Wars Part 3, and everything, they knew if they went that route, and all that, it'd be like, oh, so it's just one story. It's just like the first Star Wars was just, the first part of a, trilogy of a miniseries movie trilogy, if you will, because that's how people would look at these kind of films. Like, oh, they're just a miniseries, but in movie format. That's what it is. It's just the same. It's just one story, but you're just continuing it in miniseries format. Here, it's more along the lines of, oh, we're going to call them episodes. We're going to call them episodes. So that way people could look at it like, okay, here's the first episode. Then we got to tune into the next episode and everything. Because the next episode could be like a time jump. Or the next episode could be totally different, but still have that connection, storyline-wise. And, people and, so on and so forth. People, basically, the studios have reasonings for going going either the part route or the episode route or just the sequel route, but basically confirming that it's all one story, at the end of the day. And that's why I think, and a lot of people are feeling, just based off what people within the studio have said, or, the vibes they've given off, that Frozen 3 and Frozen 4 are going to be a two-parter. They're going to be a two-parter with Frozen 4, potentially, asterisk there, potentially being the fourth and final film. And, there's a lot of things in Frozen 2 that, kind of need to be resolved and answered. Like, how did Elsa's mom guide her if she was already passed on? See, these are questions. These are questions that need to be answered. Like, are the parents still alive? Could the mom herself be a spirit just like Elsa's become? These are things you'd have to wonder. And if the parents are alive and everything, how does that affect Anna's status as queen? Does she give up the throne once her parents, come back and she goes back to being a princess? Or does she remain as queen and the parents, just stay there as her advisors, or her dad does, because like Elsa, her mom can't be part of the human world now. Who knows? You see, these are a lot of things that you have to wonder. These are a lot of things you have to wonder about, and hopefully you'll get answers to. Like I said, the best way that they can conclude Frozen 3 is to have this lightning spirit, whoever she is. I can't think of her name right now. I said it before, but in the last video where I talked about this, but whoever the lightning spirit is, whatever her name is, and you can let me know in the comments in the live chat. The best way I see them concluding the film, to really pull you in for the fourth, is to have her reveal before the credits roll, oh, Anna, Elsa, your parents are alive. They're alive, and I can help you find them. And you could just be like, you could just end it with both of them being in shock, like, what? Like, what did you say? And then there you go. There you go. Or you could just have her say, oh, by the way, your parents are alive. And then that's it. And then you just end it there. And then that leads you into the fourth film, with the addition that during the credits or after the credits, you get that scene that I mentioned earlier, to where you see the parents alive, but unbeknownst to the father, or maybe he does know, I'm not really sure, or I wouldn't be really sure unless we see it ourselves, unless they go this route, that being Disney, unless they go this route. We see in the post-credit or mid-credit scene, not only are the parents alive, but we see the mom kind of like using a little bit of magic herself, kind of showing off that, yeah, she's, becoming a spirit, if not is a spirit, now, herself, just like Elsa is. But again, that's up to what Disney wants to do. Whether, the father doesn't know or the father does, if they go that route, that's one way to really, like I say, draw you in along with the revelation that they're alive. And then you see them alive in the post or mid-credit scene. You see the mom kind of weaving a little bit of magic herself, showing that, hey, she might be a spirit herself on the verge of it. And off to the races you go for the fourth and potentially final film. But yeah, I'm obviously not the only one that, sees, kind of sees the fact that with the announcement almost back to back that we're getting not only Frozen 3, but we're also going to be getting Frozen 4, even before Frozen 3 comes out, kind of tells you that they're probably going to go the two-part route. And one of the, like I said, one of the theories and speculations, I've come up with, and I'm sure others have thought the same way, is that this is going to answer, that the reason they're doing this is it's going to answer a lot of questions. It's going to answer the question, it's going to answer the question of, what's this lightning spirit's purpose? Whose side she really on? Does she trust Elsa as the newest spirit and stuff like that? Is she going to be Elsa's mentor and everything? Is she going to align herself with Elsa and Anna, which I think she will? And also, will we find out the true status of the parents? Will the spirit, whatever her name is, again, I do apologize, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but whatever her name is, will this lightning spirit reveal at the end of the film to kind of lead you in to the fourth film that, oh, Elsa, Anna, your parents are alive, and then you get this shock of expression on them, like, what? And then there you go. And then, like I said, maybe in a mid or post-credit scene, we see them alive, and maybe one of the other things that kind of, cliffhangs you, is you see the mom using magic herself, very similar to Elsa, and then you see what kind of magic that is, and it gives you the idea of what kind of spirit she might be, or she's going to be eventually. And it would explain why Elsa had the powers she had when she, that she first developed, I should say, when she was younger, and just continued to grow as she got older. So yeah, basically, like I said, I'm not the only one that looks at the fact and kind of theorizes the fact based on what people, within Disney, the higher ups there and everything have said. But, the fact that they're going back to back here with Frozen, again, like I said, gives off the vibes that, yeah, this is going to be a two-parter, and it's going to be a two-parter worth watching if they go the direction myself and I'm sure others are speculating and theorizing they will. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with what I feel they're going to probably do with this two-parter, if it is a two-parter with Frozen 3 and 4? Or what do you think is going to happen? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments and during the live chat, which hopefully you've done during the premiere of this video. Like the video, but yeah, guys, give me your thoughts and theories of where you think this is going to lead. Do you agree with what I have to say? Do you agree with others and what they have to say? And a shout out to Mawatzi on those short videos and stuff to help me inspire me to do this one, and also check out my other Frozen video, which I will link at the end of the video here. In the annotations that you can click on. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you later. Y'all have a good day.